Pat, you can't stop. Good, thanks for doing that. Thanks a lot, Dave.
Okay. Good evening and welcome. Regular meeting of the Wayne-Westland Community Schools Board of Education is hereby called to order. It's Monday, May 18th, and it's 7 o'clock. On behalf of the Board of Education, I'd like to welcome you all. Your presence here indicates your support for public education, and we do appreciate that. We'd like to start this evening with the Pledge of Allegiance, item 255.15. And to help us with that, we have two young people, Jacob Oyer and Sarah Thompson. Jacob and Sarah, are you ready?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Mrs. Medell, do you have some biographies for us?
Yes, Sarah and Jacob, could you stay up there? I'm going to start with Sarah's biography. Sarah Thompson is a first grader in Mrs. Craig's class at Wildwood Elementary School. She is a leader in the classroom. Her favorite leadership job is tool director. Wildwood is a leader in me school. Sarah's favorite habit is habit 7, sharpen the saw. Her favorite subject at school is math. When she is not at school, Sarah participates in dance and soccer. Then there's Jacob. Jacob is a first grader in Mrs. Craig's class at Wildwood Elementary School. Jacob has done a great job being a leader at school. Jacob was the first leader of the week in his class. His favorite habit of happy kids is habit 7, sharpen the saw. Jacob knows that sharpening the saw means doing what you like and what is good for your body. Jacob enjoys gym and math at school. Outside of school, Jacob is a Boy Scout in Pack 500. He also plays baseball. His favorite position is catcher.
I would like to present this award. I would like to thank the principal, Ms. Jenna Mullings at Wildwood Elementary, for having these outstanding students come beside us today. And this award is for Sarah Thompson. And I'd like to thank you so much for your help and participation in the Pledge of Allegiance today. And I'd like to also give this award to Jacob Oyer. And thank you for your participation for the Pledge of Allegiance today. Here's your award.
Thank you, Jacob. Before you sit down, Jacob, did you bring anybody special with you today?
I got my mom and this one's
And how about you, Sarah? Fantastic. Thank you both. Thank you, Ms. Hines, for making the presentation this evening. Ms. Medell, roll call?
Well, before we do roll call, I want to mention that Jacob's mom was one of my first graders. So I'm feeling just a little old this morning, this afternoon, not that I need any help, thank you very much, but it brings back memories because he looks exactly like her. So I'm glad to see you. All right, attendance. Mr. Griffin.
Present.
Mrs. Walker. Present. Dr. Weaver.
Present.
Mrs. Hines.
Present.
Mrs. Madison.
Present.
I'm here, and Mr. Buckaloo.
Present.
Very good, 7-0.
Fantastic. Item 257.15, recognitions, presentations. Dr. Harmala?
Yes, actually, we have a bunch of things today, and we're going to start off with Representative Christy Pagan, and she's here to just speak briefly with the board, and she can go up and in the back, and then I'll hand it over to you, President Buckaloo.
Representative Pagan is primarily responsible for Canton and Belleville, but she also has responsibility for the west end of the Wayne-Westland district, and we're very, very pleased to have her support in Lansing for public education and for Wayne-Westland. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. Again, I'm State Representative Christy Pagan. Yes, I'm serving the communities of Canton, Belleville, and Van Buren Township. That includes Wayne-Westland School Districts, Plymouth Canton School District, and the Van Buren School District. I'm a proud product of Plymouth Canton Schools, K-12 graduate, and avid fighter for our traditional public schools up in Lansing. I'm proud to serve on our Appropriations Committee, and one of my subcommittee assignments is the Department of Education. And that's where we have all of our curriculum goes through, our student assessment, including the new M-STEP, as well as teacher evaluation. So I'm there as your voice to really represent part of this district back home. And so I wanted to just come here, introduce myself. I'm newly elected. I ran and won and was replaced Representative Diane Slavens. Unfortunately, she was termed out. I was born and raised in the community, so it's an extreme honor to represent my hometown in Lansing. And I really just have a passion for our kids and our schools and making sure that we're setting up all of our kids for success. It's really why I ran, and it's what I'm fighting for every day in our state capitol. So it's an extreme honor and pleasure to be there and to be in public service, and it's something that I take extremely seriously and something that I am truly honored to do. So just thank you for the opportunity to introduce myself in front of your board meeting tonight, and please look to me as your voice, especially around issues of schools and making sure that our kids are prepared for the future. So, thank you.
Thank you, Representative Pagan. It's reassuring to know that we have your pro-education voice in Lansing.
Absolutely.
Thank you. And I know you have things to get done. You're welcome to stay as long as your schedule permits and to leave as you need. Thank you. Dr. Harmel?
Yes, I'm going to introduce our Assistant Superintendent, John Albrecht. We have a recognition that he's going to lead.
Mr. President, members of the Board of Education, Dr. Harmla, and those in our audience, it's with pleasure that I welcome North Brothers Ford here tonight along with the Livonia YMCA. Wayne-Westland Schools really values our partnership with local stakeholders and businesses. North Brothers Ford and the Livonia Y are two of those people. Each year, North Brothers reaches out to us in their effort to select students who will have an opportunity to attend summer camp. We're very thankful to North Brothers Ford for their continuous support of our community schools and especially our students. I want to introduce next to me Mary Ann Wazinski, Assistant Principal from Franklin Middle School, Xavier Curtis from Stevenson, and next to him is Maria Arambula, who is from EMU Bright Futures, and she's representing another Stevenson student, Nina Porcaro, who's at a National Junior Honor Society induction tonight. Also with us are Perry Rue from North Brothers Ford, Nathan Quenby from North Brothers, and Brian Wolverton from the Livonia Y. We reached out to there's actually 4 students. We reached out to them again today to verify that they would be here. And part of North Brothers' work with our district is to provide opportunities for kids who otherwise wouldn't have them. We don't at this time. Mary Ann was waiting for our other students to arrive. They still aren't here, but I would like to turn it over now to our 2 people, Brian and Nathan.
Thank you, board members, and obviously from North Brothers and the Livonia Family YMCA, a great gift that I get given every year is the relationship of North Brothers working with the Livonia Family YMCA to support individuals in need. And the greatest opportunity is one of the things that we got today, which is our gift to have this young man and the other participants go up to Nisqually, which is a overnight camp, and they will have an entire week of camping, swimming, fishing, and horseback riding. So doing a lot of experiences that may not necessarily be able to attain in other areas. But in other opportunities as well, as North Brothers helps us with scholarships for regular day camp as well. So please spread the word to the Wayne-Westland, especially for elementary and middle school, because they additionally help us support kids to come to our day camp. So if you have not heard of this program, please make sure you contact your administrator, because that is something that is available this summer as well. On behalf of North Brothers and Livonia Family YMCA, specifically for Xavier Curtis, here's an acceptance award honoring his great, what'd you get? How long was you had a summary of what you wanted to do for summer camp, right? All right. In addition to that, North Brothers actually provided them with sleeping bags, towels, water bottles, flashlights, and other essential camp items.
Excellent.
I would ask that you give them a strong round of applause. Sure. Well, fantastic. Thank you. Thank you for your effort. On behalf of the Livonia Family Y and North Brothers, we thank you for attending today, and we're looking forward to the other 3 individuals joining us at summer camp as well. Thanks.
Is there anyone who has a comment at this time, or are we ready to move on?
Congratulations.
I want to thank you very, very much for the presentation, and congratulations to the young people who have so deservingly won these awards. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Dr. Harmel?
Yes, now I would like to ask Principal Kevin Weber to come to the podium, and he's going to also provide a recognition for this evening.
Mr. President, board members, Dr. Harmela, and audience members, thank you for allowing me the opportunity to recognize our boys bowling team on their outstanding accomplishment during the season. Tonight with me, I have one of our members, Brandon June, of our bowling team, and they recently won the Division I state title. Winning a Division I state title, I think, speaks for itself, but if you're a sports fan, I think you always appreciate a Cinderella story. And our boys, while they have a long-standing standard of performing very well. They were not the favorites coming out of the league. They weren't the favorites coming out of the district. But when it got into the state tournament, they were the team to beat, and they bowled extremely well and on their way to winning a bowling state title. And so I have Brandon June, who is a member of our bowling team, and so can we give him, as an honor of his bowling teammates, a round of applause. We unveiled the banner that will go in Wayne Memorial Alumni at the PEP Assembly on Friday, and it will be hung in the summer work up in the banners with the rest of the state banners. So, thank you.
Brandon June, is that correct?
Yes.
Brandon? On behalf of the Board of Education and the administration, Dr. Hamala, we'd like to present to you and to all of your bowlers these certificates of recognition. It's a tremendous honor to have first team state from Wayne Memorial on behalf of the School District of Wayne-Westland. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very, very much. Dr. Harmel?
Yes, we have another recognition tonight, and I'm going to ask our Deputy Superintendent, Mr. Larson Scheidler, to introduce his team, who will be sharing the next recognition.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Harmla. Tonight we have Ann Stevens, Joanne Gross, and from Aramark, and we have Julie Mudich from Walker Winter, and they're going to, I think, step up to the podium, please, and describe the Healthier U.S. School Challenge Award that they received.
Good evening. I am very proud to announce the recognition award to Walker Winter Elementary, the HUSK Award, which is the Healthier U.S. School Challenge. And in a nutshell, what the award encompasses is a healthy menu in conjunction with increased physical fitness, physical education, and then where Walker Winter exceeded the standard was additional nutrition education and physical fitness beyond the school day. They have a lot of activities after school, and they are in recognition of that. They have an award and a plaque, and in addition to that, they will also be receiving $500. Congratulations. Did I miss anything?
Okay, thank you very much. Moving along to 258.15, citizen comments, agenda items only. Mrs. Madell.
Okay.
No comments? Then we can move along to the consent agenda. Item 259.15, a motion is in order.
So moved,
Move from Mr. Griffin.
Support.
And second by Ms. Hines. Discussion? Seeing none, I assume we're ready to vote.
Dr. Weaver?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
I will abstain due to item A.
Mrs. Madison?
Yes.
Mr. Griffin?
Yes.
Mrs. Hines?
Yes.
I vote yes, and Mr. Buckler?
Yes.
Mr. President, I guess I might not have been too clear because I was absent, so I wasn't here for the minutes, so that's why I'm abstaining.
Very good. Thank you very much. And that takes us then to item 260.15, review and approval, business services and finance items. Mr. Larson Scheidler.
Okay, thank you, President Bucklew. Actually, I'm glad that we still have Joanne and Ann here. Talking about after-school meals, just give you a little bit of history. I'm not going to go over the memos that are in or the evaluation that's really in your package that's there to read. But how this started is the athletic directors came to me last year when we were doing the budgeting, and they wanted to create study tables after school, where we could get the kids, keep them there. They cited that this would help with team building, hopefully improve grades, provide supervised place for students to stay at the school waiting for practice, and of course provide nourishment for before practice. We met with the unions and administration to develop the program. Everybody was very cooperative. We piloted the program for the winter sports program that started December 1st, went through February 27th. And what we found is we wanted to expand it to all after-school activities, and what we wanted to do is find a way to provide snacks or meals so it'd be available to all participants. And as I believe that we've said before, we had a fund balance in our food service fund that we needed to spend down. That's the first place that we looked. We thought we could provide free meals. Department of Education doesn't allow you to provide free meals. So Joanne, and we checked around and we found that the Child and Adult Care Food Program provides a way of providing a universal after-school meal. We met the criteria in order to provide, universal just means everybody gets it and it's free. So one of the criteria is that the schools had to be 50% or more free and reduced lunch percentage. Both high schools met that. John Glenn was at 54, Wayne Memorial is about 56. You must have adult supervision, and it must be supplemental to education. In your packet, we have an evaluation memo and also the survey results from John Glenn and Wayne Memorial. Some of the highlights, we provided almost 24,000 meals over a 64-day. No, I thought you were falling over.
Just a little noise management.
Oh, okay.
Not from in the room.
Okay. Well, over 64 days, we provided approximately 24,000 meals. That's 371 meals per day. The program was self-supporting, which was one of the requirements that we're looking at. And highlights of the 132 student surveys was across all grade levels, is across sporting activities, academic, and club activities. 85 students cited that they waited until after their activity to eat. 78 would recommend the program to a friend. 99, which I thought was really important, said it helps them with their activity. It helped them to concentrate, helped them to perform during whatever activity they were participating in. And 53 indicated that it would encourage them to participate in future activities. So I thought that looked like a positive too. Not only did we survey the students, we interviewed the custodial food service, the supervision staff, and then we met with administration and the ADs at both John Glenn and Wayne Memorial. Based on the surveys, interviews, and meetings, the program was extended to the spring sports. So we're piloting it for the spring. We're currently doing evaluation surveys of the spring programs. Hope to get those back. There's not really a rush because we'll start the application for next year over the summer. I think it's probably July, August timeframe. So, if we get the surveys back by the end of the school year, we can compile them, we can assess it, we can meet with administration again, and apply for next year. We also, I asked my staff to check and see if there were any issues currently, any issues that we had as far as, maybe some, food left in places. The custodians would meet with the teachers or supervisors immediately. It was fixed, upon discussion, so we've had no issues in the spring pilot. So it's all looking very successful. It's good for kids.
Thank you. Anyone have a question or a comment?
I have a question. Is there any way we can work on this for during the summer when some of our sport teams are allowed to practice? I know football starts fairly early.
Yeah,
before
no.
school does. And
one of the things that we really have to watch is it has to be supplemental to the education. So we have to provide tutoring. We have to have a study table. We had some direction from Department of Education initially that said all it had to do is be an after-school program. Once we received the information in writing, turned out it has to have an educational component to it. So just providing a meal for, summer athletics wouldn't meet the criteria.
All right, is there some way we can find funding? I know this is a need, because I've heard from the coaches about our students coming hungry in the summer and having to find funds to get some food for them so that they do not pass out on the field, other than from the hot weather.
Right.
But is there some other thing that we can look at?
We can look into it. That's first request that I've had
Okay.
to do that. But yeah, we can look and see if there are any programs, I'm sure. Joanne?
Can you go to the microphone, because when it's recorded, we don't get you.
We have applied for summer feeding, and it will be at 10 sites. Wayne Memorial is one. John Glenn, we have not, but that's one option.
All right, is this the usual summer lunch program that we provide for our students?
So we provide a lunch, yeah.
Okay, do we know what buildings those are going to be?
We're doing it in Hamilton, Hicks, Hoover, Schweitzer. Roosevelt will do the special, the CSI, SCI, SXI. Marshall, Taft, Adams will do a SMART program. Stevenson will do the Mars program in the morning.
Okay.
And then Wayne Memorial.
All right, so I think we've got just about everybody covered but Glenn. All right, well, hopefully the boosters will be able to help out then, because I know it is a need.
Yeah, we'll look
Thanks,
into
Jen.
it.
Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
May I add a comment, President Buckaloo? I wanted Mr. Larson-Scheidler and his team to present this. One of the things we've tried to add into our work within the district is evaluation of our program as we're doing it, designing the evaluation right from the beginning, and then implementing that evaluation as we go along. And so this, I think, represents a nice job by both instruction, the athletics department, and the business office, as well as food services, to design an evaluation, keep up with it, and make the program move ahead and tweak as we go. So I'd like to thank them for that hard work.
Thank you.
And along those same lines, this is a program with some serious merit to it. But as much as it has merit, I was impressed with the preliminary work that went into planning and then the data collection. And as I understand it, this is something of an interim report. There's going to be another report coming to us later?
Yeah, currently, we're in the spring pilot, and they'll end with the end of school, but we have surveys out. Each school will do 25 to 50 surveys. I'll compile the information, and what we do is we use that, it's interesting because the questions that the students answer, the multiple choice type questions, are important because they make sure that we're hitting a need. But, the fill-in answers are what, some of them interesting, but, it helps us to plan the meals. We find out what students like and what they don't like, because the last thing we want to do is provide something that they don't want to eat. And, it's sort of a, learning process going through it because, the after-school meal is a little bit different than serving the, breakfast or the lunch, because we have staff that comes in and they pack throughout the day, so it's a little different process. But we'll get there, and, with the student surveys, input from, the supervision, we'll get it right.
Can we expect going down the road that other pilot programs will follow something similar, obviously not exact, but something similar to this plan of preparation, data collection, and evaluation?
As far as any...
Future pilots?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and, for this one, we hope to look at other areas to use it. But, yeah, if we have another pilot, we would, evaluate it, survey the people, and perform, the MDE evaluation tool?
Yeah. Maybe I might add a clarification. We're trying to create the process that will be consistent across the departments, whether it's educational services or business services. So we do have a template, which Jim is referring to when he's talking about the MDE, or Michigan Department of Education evaluation tool. And that's one we've selected to use. So.
And finally, somewhat tongue-in-cheek, you only fed one wrestler?
No, that's not true.
Some of them snuck in?
No, we've had a lot of wrestlers. Oh, you mean in the survey there's only one? We couldn't pin them down.
Oh,
That was bad.
That was really quick, Jim, actually.
Anyone else?
No, actually, it's interesting. I do want to tell you about the wrestlers because John Mills' son is a wrestler. And, what they said is that they would get the bags and, they would put them aside and then they'd wrestle and then they would be eating those going home. And, input from John, he said his son, I think he loved it, and all the wrestlers really liked it, and, like the items in it, but, those chicken patties, we just can't get those by the kids, so we'll work on this.
Thank you very much. Does anyone else have a comment? Okay, moving right along. By the way, that does not require any action on our part, and you're still with us, item B.
Okay, thank you, President Bucklew. The next item is dissolution of the Synergistics Energy Conservation Contract. Just give you a little history on this. December 13th, the district entered into a 5-year contract with Synergistic to increase energy savings. I recommended entering into the contract to supplement and increase savings from our iSave program. iSave is going into its 8th year. Synergistic and iSave programs are similar in that they are really to promote behavioral changes and also monitor the energy use by programming. The Synergistic program would provide, as it was passed, would provide district training, a part-time energy consultant funded by Synergistic, and provide future annual savings of between $355,000 to $498,000 per year, or approximately 18%. February 2015, we met with Synergistic to review the program. Savings at that time had increased by 6.8%, or $100,000, which was short of their estimate. Still $100,000 is very good. And part of that is in our contract, we stated that the first $60,000 would fund our person that was in that position. So everything that we had recommended in the original contract came to fruition. It did fund our person. But to increase the savings, energy savings, the district would need to upgrade mechanical systems, which is not part of the contract. Synergistic programs ideas were exhausted. We met, we went over everything. We looked at everything a couple times. We mutually agreed to terminate the contract at no cost to either party, which going into the program, we stated there would be no cost if we were to terminate the contract. I believe it was a beneficial partnership. We received training that will benefit the district in the future. I also believe it complements the work by Tony Spizak and his staff over the years to develop the iSave program that we currently have.
Okay, thank you. Questions or comments?
I just had one quick comment. That is a really good idea. We were touring some of the buildings earlier today and this week. I've been to a couple of buildings, and I like the fact that they have the lights on a timer. So that saves a lot of energy. And like you said, behaviors, even here with the restrooms, how you turn all the lights off. And I think that's a really good program that you guys are doing, that you have already implemented.
Well, Tony and his staff, Gino Montaigne, he's changing out lights to LED, which we get a rebate from DTE. Then also we have energy savings. Tony and his staff are just really, finding all kinds of ways to create savings. LED has come to the point where it's very efficient, but it's affordable now. So they come to me with a lot of ideas, all very good, so.
I have a question. Is there a penalty for leaving this contract early?
No penalty. It's a mutual agreement that, we've done everything that we could do, both sides. I'm sorry?
We part friends.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. In fact, they came to us and, they just said everything that we've recommended, you've done, you've been doing. They just said there's nothing that they could do to get us really above that, about 7% savings. And we still want to keep a partnership. It won't be a contractual, but they're allowing us to use software that will track the energy use and able to compare it year to year on an apples to apples basis. Okay. So, they came in, they did everything we asked, we did everything they asked. just, I think the program that we have is very good.
Very good.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I think you have one more item for us.
Yes, I do. Thank you. This is, we have a lot of food tonight. This is the renewal of the food service management contract with Aramark for 2015-16. Oops. Our contract is a 5-year contract. Each year, we have to apply to the Department of Education to renew the contract. Contract terms, they allow for increases, and there will be a small per meal increase. Increase for general and administrative fees is 3.05%, and then, which equates to .0011 cent per meal, and an increase for management fees of 3.21%, which is .0015, and this is over almost 2.5 million meals.
Okay. Item C is going to require a recommendation. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Support.
Moved by
Walker.
Mrs. Walker and second by Mr. Madison. Discussion? Mrs. Walker?
No discussion.
Mrs. Madison? Anyone else?
Yep. This is my annual recusal. I don't have to do, but I do need to inform the community that my daughter, who lives in another state and whose job is not tied to this contract, nor is this contract tied to her employment, works for Aramark. So I will be voting because it does not fall under the threshold of me having to not vote.
I see that there is some increase in cost to us, but it appears to be minuscule.
Yes, it's minor. It totals less than $7,000 over the year.
Less than a quarter penny a meal, I believe, something
Yeah.
along those lines.
Quarter of a penny, yes.
Yeah.
And Aramark provides a good service. Joanne and her staff, the after-school meal program, they worked with us on that, and they're very good to work with.
Very good. Any other comments?
Well, I think it should be noted that even the increases generated by the revenue from the district food service program, not out of the general fund of the school district. So,
Right.
for the record, that's all.
Are we ready to vote?
Yeah.
Mrs. Bedell?
Mrs. Madison?
Yes.
Mrs. Hines?
Yes.
Dr. Weaver?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Mr. Griffin?
Yes.
I vote yes, and Mr. Buckaloo?
I also vote yes. 7-0 vote. Don't go away.
No, I'm not.
Item 261.15, review and approval. This is the RESA budget resolution. Mr. Larson-Scheidler.
Okay, thank you again, President Bucklow. As a member of districts in Wayne County RESA, Wayne-Westland is presented with their budget for the following year for approval. RESA, as you know, provides Wayne-Westland with services and funding for special education, state reporting, and computer services. A countywide millage of 3.5 mils, which is referred to as Act 18, is collected for special education services and distributed to districts throughout the county. Countywide programs are developed and operated with this funding. State and federal programs are operated and distributed through Wayne RESA, including Medicaid and outreach reimbursement. And actually, most recently, Wayne RESA was appointed as the executor of the dissolution of Inkster, and they provided guidance throughout that process. Wayne RESA provides us a lot of services, important services, and they're looking for approval of the budget.
This requires a motion.
I move that we accept.
Okay, moved by Mrs. Bedell and second by Mrs. Madison. Mrs. Bedell?
Do you want me to do roll call? I don't have a comment. Do you want me to
Mrs.
do?
Madison?
No comment.
Is there anyone with a comment at this time? Seeing none, I assume we're ready to vote. Mrs. Madell?
Mrs. Hines?
Yes.
Mr. Griffin?
Yes.
Mrs. Madison?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Dr. Weaver?
Yes.
I vote yes, and Mr. Buckaloo?
I also vote yes, and that gives us a 7-0 vote.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Item 262.15, Resolution, Wayne County Regional Education Service Agency Biennial Elections. Dr. Harmon?
Yes, in your packet is the candidate information for Mr. James Petrie and the resolution for casting this board's vote for that RISA candidate at their upcoming meeting. So we need a motion.
I move that we support Mr. Petrie.
I support.
Okay, moved Walker and support Hines. Comment, Mrs. Walker?
No comment.
Ms. Hines?
No comment.
Anyone? No, I would just like to say that even though there's just one candidate running for this position, Mr. Petrie is an excellent representative with a long history of serving RISA, and we will be well served by returning him to that position. So I guess we're ready to vote then. Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Excuse me. Mrs.
I don't know, I thought you was doing two hats, so I just want to answer.
Everything was going so well.
That's all right, I almost called him Dr. Buckaloo a few minutes ago. And it's right in front of me, printed, no less. All right, Dr. Weaver?
Yes.
Mrs. Hines?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Mr. Griffin?
Yes.
Mrs. Madison?
Yes.
I vote yes, and Mr. Buckaloo?
I also vote yes. 7-0 vote.
Yep.
And that brings us to item 263.15, report on the superintendent's evaluation. This is under a separate cover, so you won't find this in your agenda. But I have a comment here by way of making a recommendation. Let me begin with the recommendation. I move that we accept the superintendent's summary evaluation as presented. I need a second.
Second that.
Mr. Weaver is a second. And I would just like to say a couple of things about this evaluation. We're required by law to do this on an annual basis. We did that last week, in fact, a week ago today, and the results were gratifying to us on the board that we have a superintendent that is so highly thought of by board members. She was rated highly effective and given a rating of 93.10%. And we just couldn't have been more fortunate with the selection of a superintendent a year ago. And that pretty much was the consensus of those people who did that evaluation. And so I move that we vote to accept that evaluation at this time.
Support? We already have a motion.
I would like to make a,
You already have a motion, and
Okay, I'm sorry. Is there anyone else with a
I'd
comment?
like to make a comment.
Yes.
I just want to say that, that we, how am I going to say this? I just want to say that everywhere I go, I hear nothing but great things about our superintendent. And I think that as a community that we, and I'm going to say this, I think we're blessed to have her. She's brought a lot to our district, and I foresee her bringing a lot more. And I just want to thank you for what you've done so far. It has been an excellent year, and great job.
I have one comment too. I like to say, Michelle, you're doing a wonderful job. You fight for us in this district. You fight for the teachers, and I've heard so many wonderful things from the legislators in Lansing. You are doing an awesome job, and we really appreciate you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Roll call vote?
Okay. Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Mrs. Madison?
Yes.
Mr. Griffin?
Yes.
Mrs. Hines?
Yes.
Dr. Weaver?
Yes.
I vote yes, and Mr. Buckaloo?
Yes. That gives us a 7-0 vote. At this time, I'd like to call on Dr. Weaver for a recommendation.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. I would like to move that we extend Michelle Harmala's contract for 1 year.
Support.
Move Dr. Weaver, support Mrs. Walker. Comments, Dr. Weaver?
Yes, I'd just like to say to our superintendent that I appreciate your hard work and appreciate the fact that the employees of our district seem to find you fair and communicative. And I want to thank you for your work this year. I agree with my colleagues that that it seems like you were the right fit at the right time. And so it is with that that I offer this motion to extend your contract.
Mrs. Walker?
No other comments.
Anyone?
I'd like to say something.
Yes, ma'am.
Everywhere I go, they are praising the job that we did in hiring you, and that speaks highly of you and your character and what you've been able to bring to this district. And moving into the future, I expect same quality, maybe not the quantity, because I know the first year can be a little crazy, but, you know, we need to pace ourselves as we get older. I don't listen to my own advice sometimes. But even the two representatives from MASB come up to me and say, how's she doing? Is it working out well? And I said, it's an excellent fit for us. So moving forward in our district, we look for some great things also that will help move us into the next year. Thank you.
And I would just like to add this. We are not under any obligation to extend the superintendent's contract 1 year. The idea of the old evergreen clause is not a part of Dr. Hamala's contract. However, I think it's very clear to those of us on the board that this is the right thing to do at this time. We have an outstanding superintendent who has done wonderful things in the first year and has made it very, very clear that she has a direction she wants to take this district, and we would be wise to go along for the ride. So I too support the extension of 1 year. Are there other comments? Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Griffin?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Dr. Weaver?
Yes.
Mrs. Hines?
Yes.
Mrs. Madison?
Yes.
I vote yes, and Mr. Buckaloo?
7-0.
Very good.
Thank you very much. And that brings us to something that is not on the agenda, but I would like to introduce it at this time and do so with a little bit of some background. When Dr. Hamala was hired a year ago, she made it clear that she, in principle, opposes the idea of merit pay. And I thought that was commendable. However, at the time that the contract was written, state law required that a performance bonus be written into the contract, and so it was. Because of her highly effective rating, Dr. Hamala is entitled to a bonus of $5,000 this year, based on her rating for the 2014-2015 year. She has made it very clear that she's not interested in that performance bonus, and that she would pursue some way of leaving that money with the district. And after consultation with council, she produced an addendum to her contract, and with your forbearance, I'll read that at this time. Addendum to the Wayne-Westland Community Schools Superintendent Contract. Whereas the Wayne-Westland Community Schools Board of Education and Dr. Michelle Harmala entered into a superintendent contract in June 2014. Whereas pursuant to that Section 5C of the contract, Dr. Harmala is entitled a merit pay bonus if she receives a rating of highly effective or effective in her final year-end evaluation from the Board of Education. Whereas the Board of Education has completed Dr. Harmala's final year-end evaluation for the 2014-2015 school year and has rated her as highly effective. Whereas pursuant to the contract, Dr. Harmala is entitled to $5,000 in merit pay based on the final year-end evaluation for 2014-2015. Whereas Dr. Harmala, in recognition of the current fiscal state of the school district, wishes to respectfully decline the merit pay bonus for the 2014-2015 school year. It is hereby agreed that Dr. Michelle Harmala will not receive, and the Wayne-Westland Community Schools shall retain the $5,000 merit pay bonus to which Dr. Harmala is entitled pursuant to the contract for the 2014-2015 school year. This addendum is intended to apply to the merit pay bonus for the 2014-2015 school year only. Except as specifically stated in this addendum, the contract will remain in full force and effect. And I would like at this time to have a motion to accept this addendum.
So moved, Madam.
Support.
Chairperson.
Moved by Mr. Griffin and supported by Mrs. Madison. Is there a comment? Sir?
Yeah. Simply stated, I just admire you, Dr. Harmala, for making this decision, because I believe, we know that later on, hopefully, we're going to get back to bargaining with all the employees in this district by virtue of having our balanced budget come up after 3 years of trying to make up $12 million. That is really important that we, the board, as well as you, the superintendent, show them that if there's any money out there, we're going to share this together from the top down. And I think that that's going to add tremendous value to the administration, this board, and trying to treat our employees in this school district in the proper way. And so I admire you for doing this. I realize you're entitled to it. It's your decision. This board did not ask you to do this. You did this on your own volition. But I didn't know it till tonight, till I read this, that this was the case. I just admire the decision that you made, because I think it's going to have a tremendous impact on this system from your office down, and I appreciate that for myself personally as a board member. Thank you.
Mrs. Madison.
I'm done.
Mrs. Madison.
Yeah, at this time, I wanted to say to you, thank you. Thank you so much for seeing the potential in our community and in our district. But most importantly, thank you for not only joining us, but for leading us. You're an excellent leader and an excellent role model for all of us at all ages. Thank you.
Well said, Mrs. Madison.
Another comment? Well, I would like to add that a couple of us knew, or at least suspected, that this might be coming up at this meeting, but Dr. Harmala wanted to keep this low-key and below the radar until after we had taken action on approval of the rating, of the evaluation, and also until we had decided on extension of the contract. A further indication of the quality of the individual that sits in our superintendent's chair. I'm not surprised that this was your decision. It speaks to the kind of person that you are and the feeling that you have for this district, something engendered in a very short period of time. I thank you for being our superintendent. Anyone else? Roll call vote?
Dr. Weaver?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Mrs. Madison?
Absolutely, yes.
Mr. Griffin?
Yes.
Mrs. Hines?
Yes.
I vote yes, and Mr. Buckaloo?
I also vote yes, and that gives us a 7-0 vote.
Thank you.
Moving on to item 264.15, discussion of board operating procedures relative to committee meetings. This has come about primarily because of a request from a citizen that we open our meetings to the public, not just the policy committee meetings, but also the finance committee meetings. And a little bit of background on that. We are in compliance with all of the rules and regulations. Our committee meetings meet the Open Meetings Act, they meet our board operating procedures, they also meet our board policy. So there's nothing wrong with what we're doing, nothing wrong with the Finance Committee not inviting the public to observe, nothing wrong with the Policy Committee inviting the public to observe. That is not the issue. The issue seems to be whether or not we should be all one thing or all the other. By having one committee open and one committee closed, we create the appearance of somebody doing something that maybe doesn't bear the scrutiny of light. And so we have to go one way or we have to go the other. And we have a couple of options today. I'm going to open this up to discussion, and when everybody has had an opportunity to say what they think on this issue, we're going to take one of three steps. We're either going to table this until next month, at which time there will be a formal resolution on the agenda, or we're going to vote on a resolution coming from the board this evening to make all of our committee meetings open, or perhaps a resolution to make all of our committee meetings closed. But we're going to have some unanimity in how we approach this going forward. Again, the board, where decisions are made in the light of day with a quorum present, has never taken a position on whether our meetings should be open or closed. That we find ourselves with one going in one direction and one going in the other direction is a matter of happenstance. We need to, as a board, make a decision one way or the other, and again, either tonight or next month. So with having said that, I would open this up to discussion. At this point, there is no recommendation. I seek to hear from you folks. Sir.
Mr. President, I give a lot of thought to this situation, having been over 30-something years in lots of meetings that were committees, et cetera. And I believe that our committee system is set up for one reason, so that we can have a reasonably small number of people, this board, this administration, deliberate about issues that are not something that are going to be set in stone in that meeting, but are recommendations and are advisory to this board. We are the only ones that can make those decisions. And I think that to open this up, to open committees up to that kind of a situation is going to inhibit the discussion of those committees and cause them to take prolonged periods of time to make recommendations to this board. That's just my opinion based on 30 years of service. And so I think that we ought to have both committees that we have, that we may have some other ad hoc committees that that we appoint, but I'm talking about the two permanent committees and any ad hoc committees too. But the two permanent committees are there for a reason. I don't believe that they should be opened up to the public, because if you get 20 people in a small room at the home, we got to move them to someplace else. They're there for advisory deliberations, to make recommendations to this board so this board can have the kinds of information necessary to make the tough decisions up here at this table only. So for me personally, I think that's the way we ought to go. I'm open to listen to the rest of the discussion of this board. Thank you.
Does somebody else wish to speak? Yes, ma'am.
I just have something to say too. What I'm concerned about too is, say we are discussing an issue and we're just throwing out ideas. You don't want to get someone from the public to get an idea, take it to someplace else, or go to the media before we even figure out what we're going to do. So just like misinformation kind of getting out before we really intend to put something in place.
Mr. President?
Yes, ma'am.
That has always been my concern, is the comfort level of people being freely to speak how they want, scared that it might get misconstrued out in the community. Something that wasn't meant to be taken one way can be taken way out of proportion. And that has only been my concern. I don't have a problem per se with the public being there, but I'm just concerned because that's our time to try to get a better understanding for ourselves. And so a question may be asked or something might be put out there and it can be taken the wrong way. And the next thing you know, it's all over and it's not even meant to be the way that it was put out. And that has always been my concern.
Mr. President, I'll just
Dr. Weaver?
very simply say that I'm not in favor of opening our committee meetings to the public. The reasons have already been borne out in discussion. I think that the committee members need an opportunity to take a breath and to hear what information is being given to us and to be able to ruminate without criticism. So that gives my reason. Thank you.
Ms. Madison?
I don't say anything to any board member that I wouldn't say in public, and I don't think, in my view, that there's any reason for concern of having open communication, and whether it's behind closed doors or open at a meeting tonight that's being recorded, either way, things are going to get misinterpreted, and the only way to remedy that is through communication. If we don't communicate with the community and allow the open dialogue to be seen and the process to be seen, just by shutting down the process can create negative intent, sometimes even larger than need be. I'm fully comfortable with sharing our communications openly. I am concerned about, even though we are technically within the law, I'm not comfortable with ethically of treating it as such. And I'm also concerned about the possibility of if that is acceptable at some point, or maybe something we need to discuss with the attorney in regards to, we do meet in public, and therefore we are denying the community the right to be in the same public space as we are when we meet. So for me, there's a lot to consider. It's not just about the technicality that we don't have 4 board members voting, and it's also about the culture that we are trying to create here, that our superintendent has been working so hard for, with her creating committee meetings. And we also have our schools creating smaller committee meetings and keeping that open line of communication. I don't feel we're being very open if we at the top shut it down.
I just had one quick comment about that. Now, when we're having these different committee meetings, what if, like, say the finance has a committee meeting, and then as a policy, we haven't had a chance to talk to them to find out what's going on, so you have other people that know more about the trustees. So sometimes I just want to be able to, communicate before we put it out there, because they might have information that I don't have, and they're asking me, and I'm like, I don't know, I wasn't at that, particular committee if I wasn't on that committee. So just being able to get the information out before everybody else, before they come to me and ask me questions, I'm like, I don't know, without, wasn't there. So just pretty much being able to communicate openly first to know what's going on, because I don't like to be in the dark.
Can I answer her on that and kind of add a little bit to it? It's interesting you bring that up, because that was some conversation that I was sharing when I initially became on board. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that had always bothered me is that you could only be on one committee or the other. And I had pursued in past with the board of having it all open, where I could have a voice at both separate, at policy and the financial. And to me, that's another option. That's a concern we might want to completely address as a board, is looking at how we conduct our meetings and how we are dividing the board. In my view, we are creating a division by having two separate meetings, and half the board goes to, you have to pick which committee you're going to be on for that year.
We've kicked this around. I know when we were working on the board operating procedures, we talked about this also. I personally, I can go either way. I can understand, I can see aspects of everybody's discussion here. I can see the need for transparency. I can see the need for information getting to the public before it gets to other trustees, and then, then the public has more information than the rest of the Board of Education. And I can also see the need for discussion to take place in a more private condition where you can spitball without having to worry about your comments, during brainstorming, and you can throw out some bizarre ideas without judgments being made. I get that. But my feeling is whichever way the board wants to go, I'll go with it, because I can see both sides. And it needs to be everybody's comfort level, also including the public, as to trusting us with the actions that we take in these committees and the things that are said, the experience, the expertise that we bring to that to make the best decisions for our students and our community. So, I'm on the fence on this one, just like I was the last time when we wrote the board operating procedures, and that's why we didn't really take a position at that point.
Yes, sir.
I just caution the board based on experience. I used to run council meetings, and they were wide open, including all budget sessions, okay? And I caution you that if you get 50 people in there and you got to move it out in some other area, you're going to not make those decisions quickly. And I will say to you, Melanie, this. No decisions are made on any reports until you get to see that report and hear that report and comment on the report, because you're going to make the decision out here. I mean, the discussion is all it is. It's just discussion. You can do whatever you want with it out here. I mean, can I live with it the other way? Yes, but I don't think it's the proper operating procedure for this board, and I think we'll get less done. And if you happen to be an issue, like a paving issue, where I had 900 people for 7 meetings, guess what? You're going to have some real problems. And I just, no decisions are made up here until this committee right here makes them, and that's the school board. We can talk all we want. I could live with either way. I've done it both ways, but my experience tells me that that's not going to get to the point where we want to be, and not going to get there fast, and it may be a real impediment. And that's all that's my response, I guess.
Mr. President, are you ready?
Oh, no, I just have a question.
Yeah.
Just to piggyback off of what Carol said, didn't we have a vote on this, on whether to do committees or?
To the best of my recollection, we did not.
I believe we did.
Okay.
Mr. President, are you ready for a motion?
Not at this time. I want to make sure that everybody has a chance to speak.
And I forgot I was going to mention this. One of the things that, coming to policy meetings, we aren't drawing in the public. I mean, we're just not a hit. Who ends up showing up is Mrs. Madison and my spouse.
Yeah.
And, it's just not drawing the crowd in.
I believe one time we might have had, I don't know if have you ever showed up?
But it might be a
to one
hot
of those?
topic, you never know.
Yeah.
Well, there's always the worry of a hot topic, but I would like to say that, as Carol pointed out, from my experience, it's actually been an improvement that them seeing the people who have showed up, Mr. Foyt and Mr. Madison, them seeing the process and understanding it before the meeting has actually reduced the questions and concerns and the feeling of a negative intent when they get here in the boardroom. As you notice, they don't get up and talk all the time, which is some of the complaints, quite frankly, you've had. So, in them being a part of the process has actually reduced your concern. So, the transparency has been a positive one as far as the policy committees have gone. And I would like to give an opportunity for absorption on this, and I would also like to give the opportunity for the policy committee to take this being we are working on policies, rather than taking a command and control and a dictatorship vote tonight, and making a decision. I would much rather see us go through a process where we go back and talk to the attorneys who are the experts in this, being we are making the difference in the change of working on the policy, and get a little bit of support
Make a
from
motion to table, I'll second.
from the attorney.
No.
I'll motion to table.
We're not going to entertain a motion at this time on anything. Continue if you, or you,
I would just like us to consider taking the policies, keeping it in the same process that we've been on track doing, rather than having the train jump the track. Let's keep to our process, and we will be hitting this and see what the attorney advises us on. And, you know, we will then be voting on changing that procedure regardless.
Mr. Chairman, through the chair to Ms. Madison, do you mean you'd rather keep it just the way it is and let the committees make the decisions of whether or not they can attend?
Well, we don't make decisions, sir.
Well, we have to date by virtue of the action taken. We've allowed them in, so that's a decision. Be it NA, that's a decision. We could still continue to do that. That may not be necessarily what the president's be able to best command, but so far, we had no problems with that.
Right.
That's a decision.
I attend a
We'll leave
meeting
it
held
alone,
in a
that's
public
fine with me.
building, and I don't think
Better
it's
than
the
the
public
alternative, in my
to attend in
opinion.
the public.
are you done?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I attend my meeting in public, and I don't deny the public access to the public vicinity. So my point being is we have a process that we all agreed upon, which was to work on every policy and to hire Luskin and Albertson to do that for us and to go through that process. And this is one of the policies that will be addressed.
One last response. We've never turned anybody down on the Finance Committee. We've never had anybody coming at. But if we did, the chairman would have to make a decision of chairman at that time. That's always an option, to keep what you have. If you're comfortable with that and that committee's comfortable, that's fine with me. I don't know if we have to make a hard and strict rule on this, if we don't want to. We could let it go for a longer period of time and see whether we need a hard and fast rule. But I'm just throwing out discussion here and responding.
That's an idea.
I'm open for it. Thank you.
Okay. Does anyone else have anything they want to contribute at this time? Without putting you on the spot, Dr. Harmala, is there anything you want to share about a legal position?
Well, certainly, right now, the way we're functioning is absolutely fine. I did speak with the attorney to make sure what I put in the memo to you that's in your packet is accurate, so we are doing just fine the way we are. You could have a decision meeting by meeting. If you are going to talk about something, you could say, oh, this meeting, somebody doesn't have to be here, we aren't going to open it up. You can keep operating with the Finance Committee. I'll use the word closed, in essence, not having the public at the meeting. You can operate with the Policy Committee having the public at their meeting. So it can function just the way it is happening now. What I need to know is when the public asks me if they're able to attend, I need to know what to tell the public. So with the Policy Committee, they have opened the door. With the Finance Committee, we have not been asked to date, but now we have been. And so I need to provide guidance. I need guidance from you to know how to respond to those requests. So it can continue the way it is. It could also continue until we get to that section of the Policy Committee in terms of the work of this board, which is a little ways down the line. It probably won't happen until the fall, sometime during the next school year. But that's another option too. And I think the agreement with the Policy Committee sharing the process with this board on how we'd go through the policies, we all agreed at this table we would go through the policies first and then address the board operating procedures. So that's sort of hanging out there a little further down the line. So how's that for a response? I think we're fine from a legal standpoint. There's no concern in terms of how we're functioning currently.
Okay. Well, I would like to offer a motion then that we table this, not until next month, but until such time as the Policy Committee brings to us a recommendation in the form of either board policy or revised board operating procedure, or both, and that we make a decision on whether our meetings will be open or closed, in open meeting in front of the public at that time. I would
You
like
need a
to add
second.
just one more thing to that motion, and that is, well, not to the motion, but by way of, excuse me. Is
You are
there a
making-
second to the
I'll
motion?
second.
I second.
Okay.
I second.
Then, by way of discussion, I would say that there is a real advantage in doing both meetings the same way. We're going to avoid that person who isn't here tonight, but comes to us not knowing the gnashing of teeth that we've gone through, and says, well, why is one committee open and one committee closed? To me, we don't solve anything by going both ways. We should do it all one way or do it all the other way. Now, I do have a preference, but I will
Speak to the
hold it
motion,
at this
yeah.
time. So, you have the second?
Yes.
Do you want her to read the motion?
Before we go that, can I just ask a question in relevance to that I think might be important?
We just hold it, make sure we get our ducks in line. Do you have the motion?
Table until such time that the policy committee brings to the board as a whole either revised policy or the FOB, and then a decision will be made to open or close the meetings, the policy or finance meetings.
And we have your second to that?
Yes, you do.
Mrs. Madison?
I just wanted to ask and kind of clarify too, that it's my understanding that the Finance Committee, as of to date, has never denied anybody, so technically speaking, they're not closed. It's just nobody has shown interest, in all due respect to the Finance Committee. I don't want anybody thinking that the Finance Committee has turned anybody away, and is that fair and true to say?
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. Is there additional discussion? Yes, ma'am?
We already have support.
Okay.
Discussion?
No, she wanted to support. We already have support.
What,
We
I didn't
did.
hear you, what'd you
Yes.
say?
We're going to vote on table.
She wanted to support the motion, but we already have support
Oh,
for it.
support. Support or discussion, because I want to discuss.
No, she wanted to support.
You want to
Oh,
discuss?
okay.
Let travel
Can I
right in.
discuss it then?
Discussion.
Motion to table discussable, Mr. President?
Is discussion over?
You know what, I should know the answer to that. I don't know if a motion to table is discussing, I don't think it is. So
No, we're ready to vote if there's no more discussion
I don't think
on the motion to table.
Debatable.
Mrs. Madell, roll call, please.
Does anybody need clarification again, or no?
I don't know, are we clear on that? We're going to vote at this time
To table.
to table until such time as we get a
The
recommendation from the
motion
policy
passes, I'll
committee.
discuss what I have to say afterwards, because it's not debatable.
Okay,
Ready then?
yes.
Okay. Mrs. Madison?
Yes.
Mrs. Hines?
Yes.
Dr. Weaver?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Mr. Griffin?
Yes.
I vote yes, and Mr. Buckaloo?
Yes.
7-0 vote.
And if I could, up to the chair, make a comment now. Can I? Okay.
Yes.
I like I concur with your comments, and I'm prepared to make a decision once the policy committee comes down and maybe recommends an operating procedure, then obviously we're going to have to make a decision. And I understand where you're at. I understand there needs to be some consistency here for that reason, but I'd like to hear what the policy committee has to say about it and the rest of the board at that time before we make some firm decision. And everybody has the opportunity to give their input on this. So that, I'm fine with that, and we can make that decision when we get there. So I that's why I supported the motion. Thank you.
Okay. All right, then that takes us to item 265.15, Superintendent's Report. Dr. Hamel.
Thank you. Good evening. It was a year ago, around this month, that I had the wonderful opportunity to meet all of you and begin preparing my role to serve here in the community. And I appreciate all of your kind words and your support for that over the last few years, or the last year. And I would like to say that a fit has to go both ways, and as much as you have said it's been a good fit for you, it's been a good fit for me as well. And so I thank you for your kind comments earlier, your support for my leadership, and also the extension of the contract, and for honoring my wishes in terms of how to deal with the current contract. So thank you for that. I'd like to share a couple of items with you tonight. First, at the June board meeting, we'll be bringing a proposed budget for the 15-16 school year, which is an annual thing that we do. But it's important to note that that budget is always our best projection of how things will be for next year. Mr. Larson Scheidler and his team in the business office always do a nice job of developing the budget based on very limited facts, and we are hopeful that our legislators will complete the budget process at the state level over the next couple of weeks so we can provide you a budget with at least some level of certainty. But they are at the very beginning stages of the process. They had their revenue estimating conference on Friday, and while the May estimates for the school aid fund are down compared to what they estimated in January, they are still up over the last year. This is a good thing for us. It could lead to the potential of recapturing some of the funds reduced by the state over the past few years. But we have a long way to go on that budget process, and the biggest focus for the legislators right now seems to be the roads and how they're going to fund repairing them. So I would just encourage you to share your thoughts with our legislative representatives, as we had Christy Pagan here tonight and others, but please do share your thinking. It's important for not only you as a board, but myself and all citizens to share their thoughts around this process. Our schools are important, and how we fund them is critically important. But we've got a ways to go before we'll know where we're at for next school year. So we will keep you posted. The second thing I'd like to share is the steering committee met for the second time on April 30th. The committee provided feedback as to the beginning steps to be considered in the eventual development of a long-range strategic plan. That's something that I mentioned would be necessary and helpful when I shared my 100-day report. The strategic planning often begins with the development of a mission, a vision, and beliefs for either an organization or a district, and our committee reviewed those items and suggested that they're informative and for the most part represent the thinking of that particular group. However, they do recommend we gather additional feedback from staff, students, parents, and community members. And in our next meeting of the Superintendent Steering Committee, they're going to review different types of strategic planning and offer feedback about an approach that they think might serve us best. After giving this information and gathering it together as a group, I'll be sharing it with our board's policy committee. The policy committee is also the board committee that addresses strategic planning, and feedback from the policy committee will ultimately come to the full board, and we'll be able to work together to actually complete the goal that we started this year, which is having a long-range strategic plan completed by about this time next year would be a great target if we had that to guide our actions. So that's sort of a scope of where we're headed to get that plan developed, with the input of many of our stakeholders and the guidance of our policy committee. And then finally, as we begin to wind down our school year, our seniors are finishing this week, and we have our graduation ceremonies that will be held on Saturday, June 30th at Eastern Michigan University. I'm looking forward to this celebration, and I know our students are very excited about their accomplishments in the beginning of the next chapter of their lives. As a parent of two boys who've graduated in the past, I know how proud all of our parents are. Definitely cherish this time. It goes too fast. And I encourage all of our students to slow down over the next couple of weeks, to think carefully about their safety and the safety of their friends. And celebrating graduation can be an exciting time, and we want everybody to enjoy themselves while being safe. Thank you.
Thank you. And that brings us to item 266.15, citizen comments, non-agenda items. Mrs. Madell.
Okay, let me get this up and running, because I see a hand already. Oh, shoot, hang on. I forget.
Touch screen.
Well, no, I went to put my own code in, forgetting this isn't my iPad. Okay. Is it showing out there? Mm-hmm. Excellent. Got it.
I just have two comments. One, it's been very educational to be going to the committee meetings as far as policy. I think it'd be great to get into finance also. It has quieted me down a lot because I know the inner workings of the district and find out what's going on more so. I mean, this is a public meeting here, and there's 4 people of the community here. I don't think you're getting an overwhelming rush of the committee meetings. And second of all, Jan, I want to commend you on your retirement and wish you well. You've got many years in the district. We've dealt with you for so many years, and I wish you the best. Thanks.
Yes, sir.
I too wanted to comment on the committee meetings situation. This mission statement is a living document. I remember when you guys created it. I'm wondering if you don't adhere to portions of it, does it die? It's an honest question. The last phrase is with the utmost respect, integrity, and transparency. And as such, your meetings, like Ms. Madison said, should be open in the interest of transparency. I too have gained insight going to the policy meetings, and I would love to go to the finance meetings if I could get time off of work and if I were able to. Most of the community doesn't care about these meetings. Some of us do, and we just want to be involved. Thank you.
Are there additional comments?
Over here. Over here.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was looking in the wrong direction.
Of course, you guys are too tall. Thank you very much. Good evening. It's been a while since I've been up here. Couple things. The after-school meals. As a parent, I would love to see this continue on. Years ago, when my son was at Glenn doing marching band and student council, everything that he was there, that was my own big concern. I said, you had to come home, eat something, I'd take you back up there. Because when you leave at 6 o'clock in the morning, or 6:30, and you're not home until like 9 o'clock at night, where do you get food? I can give them a few bucks here and there, but to have food available, now my daughter had it last term in the winter sports. She didn't eat it beforehand because doing the tumbling at cheer, she can't eat a lot. But right afterwards, I'm in the car, just as Mr. Mills' son, it's gone by the time I get home. He eats the salad, whatever, it's gone. So I truly believe that this will help. I know I'm speaking just for sports and other of that, but yes, if there are other after-school activities, this should be continued, if at all. As a parent, I truly believe it. Secondly, on to the meetings. I was sitting there with fire in my pants. I believe even if you don't open up the meetings and make it knowledge or whatever, the one meeting that I can recall that you had an open meeting 30 minutes prior to the board meeting, and we came in here, it was an informational meeting, and we sat here. I learned so much in that time. You can have it, the 3 minutes that we get, and all the policy meetings have community involvement. 3 minutes is all you get to sit, and you can sit back down, have it for 5, whatever. Limit the time. But the fact that we can come in and get that information, get an understanding, so that when I come here, I have questions on that. I'm not going to sit and ask that because I could have heard more about it. I'm not going to stand up and say it because I can't comment on the agenda items because I'm not aware of it. If I was in the policy or the financial and knew exactly what was going on, a little understanding. Not saying you guys are not transparent, because the board is transparent and I'm very proud of that. But just keep that in mind, that we're not berating, or at least I'm not berating to get in, just more information. Because coming here, watching it on videos, because I wasn't able to be here this whole school year, or 2015, I can't really understand, and I read the notes. But if I was in the meetings and able to get a little more understanding, that's just what me personally, that's what I'm asking for. So, thank you.
Are there additional comments? Seeing none? Move to 267.15, review and recommendations. Mr. Griffin, could we start with you, please?
I have no recommendation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Griffin. Mrs. Madell?
Well, we've been pretty busy in this school district. We're coming up to the end of the school year, which means we're even more busier than we thought we could be. That we've been, several of us have been to leadership days, spring musicals, zebra safari, co-op breakfast, USO dances, empty bowls event that was at Career Tech, JROTC award ceremonies, a lot of musical concerts that have taken place and will take place, plays, all kinds of events that are going on in our schools. And that says a lot about our students, because a lot of the events that they participate in are not during the school day. They are before school for jazz band, they're after school for a lot of play rehearsals and that, and our kids are still able to maintain good grades academic-wise. Head Start, as usual, you have your report in front of you as required by federal law, but also to let you know that they will be participating in the parade on Sunday for the celebration of Memorial Day. It will begin at Wayne Ford Civic League. It will travel north on Wayne Road to Ford Road. Ford Road, it will head west to Central City Parkway, where it will then go north up to the library, because they have moved the memorial from in front of the City Hall to the new location behind the library. So a little concerned about our little guys walking that far, but we're going to hopefully make some accommodations so that if they don't quite make it, we'll handle the situation and making sure that they're hydrated. But come out and join us and come watch the parade. They're always fun. One of the opportunities that I had, thanks to the Inkster Literacy Committee, was going to their poetry event that they held at the Inkster Library. All this time I've known that March is Reading Month, but did you know that April is Poetry Month? Wasn't sure that ever existed, but yes, and our students were invited to participate. So I got a chance to go to that, and they were very impressed that a school board trustee had attended their event. And I told them next year I will come prepared also with my poem in hand, whether it is written or one that has a significance to the person who's standing there reading it. So it was a very interesting, good time. Mrs. Hines and I had a chance to attend the Tinkham Educational Center graduation. Quite often at graduation, you don't get to hear from every student who has been impacted by our programs. You get to hear the class president speak, or one student has been selected out of everybody else to speak on behalf of the whole class. At this event, we got to hear from every student who is graduating from their program, and to listen to the life-changing choices that they are making, and making better choices going into the future, and their plans for the future. Everyone stood there and said that they were going on to school, whether it was with a 2-year program or a 4-year program. They had a plan, and that's one of the things we try very hard to teach our students, is have a plan. Dr. Harmala said that we have a lot of programs coming up for graduation and honors. We want to make sure everybody has a healthy, safe time. Last month we were here talking about wellness, and I made a comment that I fall down a lot, and could I use my car mileage instead? Believe it or not, I sucked it up, I put on my pedometer, and I've been wearing it ever since. I consider myself to be a very sedentary person, and I have to realize that that isn't my truth. My truth is that I am on the move as much as my car. So I've managed to average 20,000 steps in a week. For somebody who considers himself to be sedentary, that's an awful lot of steps. So I'm still wearing it, wear it everywhere I go, and I plan on continuing to try to adopt a better, healthier lifestyle going forward, along with our students. So, thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Hines.
Hi, I'd like to make a few comments.
these last few months, I've been trying to do as much as I can in the community and learn the district since I'm new on the board. You guys have been here for a while, so it's a lot I have to learn. Carol, she's been helping me out. Like today, we did a tour of the district, so I'm able to go inside the schools. And I'm more of a relationship type person. I like to meet the teachers, the staff, and just develop relationships because it's all about trust. People have to come to you if something's going on so we can tell Michelle to handle it. But that's really important because there's so many people, so many schools. And like when we went to go tour the vocational center, I did not know how many things they did over there. We were able to tour the house that they were building, and that was just amazing to see that our high school students are building houses. And I brag like, wow, how many kids do you know can graduate from high school and put on their resume they built a house? And when we went to a vocational center earlier today, one of the teachers was saying how the students were getting like really high-paying jobs after the program. So that's a very successful program. I've been doing a lot of things with Mayor Wild. They have this thing in the morning called Mornings with the Mayor. So once a month, he has like the people in the community, they all come up and they discuss different issues that they're having. And one of the issues, I had a lady from the community that was kind of upset about the school being torn down. I had to let her know, like, you know, unfortunately, how much it was costing us to keep one building there, like the $250,000, and how much it was going to cost to rehab the building. And it just made more financial sense to bring the money back to the district. And once you talk to her like that in a nice way, oh, I understand. So that kind of helped the community with that as well, to kind of see, you know, what's happening, because like Mr. Forge said, a lot of people, they don't come to these meetings. They don't know what's really going on. I was able to attend my first district improvement meeting. So that way I can kind of see what, you know, I'm trying to learn about curriculum, like what's going on, you know, how are you guys coming up, like when you guys get these textbooks or like the different tests, because I'm trying to learn like the stuff, you know, what everything is going on with the district. So that's very important. I got to go to my first junior ROTC. They had a pep rally at Wayne Memorial, so I was able to go there and kind of just, you know, see the students and the staff, and I graduated, so it was nice to come back after so many years. But it's just like the energy in the school district. I am so excited to see our kids, what they're doing, what they're accomplishing, and I just brag, like, hey, we got one of the best school districts around, so I'm just honored to be on the board, and I'm really excited.
Thank you. Mrs. Madison.
Just want to say congratulations to the class of 2015. Be safe and keep moving forward. We have a lot of events and fun things coming up, and I keep it short. I think I hear a pretty bad thunderstorm outside. So everyone be safe tonight on your way out too.
Thank you. Ms. Walker?
I'm just going to say the same thing. Congratulations to the class of 2015, and to be safe. And if I'm not mistaken, Dr. Hermala, I think you just made a whole senior class panic when you told them they were graduating June 30th.
Oh, did I say June 30th? I did not mean June 30th. I meant May 30th. No, you can graduate May 30th, not June 30th. Oops. Oops. Thank you for catching it. That's it.
That's it? Dr. Weaver?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. I think the proper motion was made tonight to table the issue involving the committees. My recommendation to you would be that this discussion should not be the exclusive property of the policy committee, but that we find a way to meet as a whole board to discuss this when the time comes. Thank you.
Okay, well, that brings it to me, I guess. And I want to thank Jacob and Sarah for getting us started. Without them, this meeting couldn't have taken place. We made 3 votes as a board tonight around the superintendent's evaluation, and I can't imagine those votes of going any better than they did for our district. Appreciate the good work that you have done and that I know you plan to do in the time ahead. Some other things happened tonight, well, at least one other thing. Our discussion of whether or not our meetings should be open, our committee meetings should be open, or whether they should be closed. We came as close to a brainstorming session as I think any group ever comes. There were no bad ideas. Even the bad ideas led to something better. We built and the discussion moved forward. And that's the way it should have worked, and that's the way it did work. And I'm really pleased with that discussion. I know it took time. I know a lot of you are thinking, why doesn't this stupid thing end? But when we're discussing something, sometimes it takes a little extra time for everybody to have an opportunity to say what they need to say and to leave feeling that they had that opportunity and that they weren't shut out. And I think we achieved that, if nothing else, tonight. Also, Mr. Larson-Scheidler's report on the meals. The thing that struck me most was the process by which we got into that, the data that we collected, and the evaluation that we did and continue to do on that. I see that as having tremendous impact on how this district moves forward in the future. Pilots can be a very touchy issue, but when the data is there, when the plan is in place prior to the data, then they're not quite so touchy. People can see the merit. So there were some good things that happened tonight. It wasn't the record 18-minute meeting that Ms. Walker had some months ago.
17.
It wasn't anywhere near that, was it, Dr. Weaver? But again, I don't begrudge the time at all. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Support. And Dr. Weaver. All in favor? Aye. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.